Welcome to the EQ Video Tip. I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. As always, thank you again for watching our show. Before we jump into this week's tip, let's review the goals of EQ Video Tip. What's on tap for today? We're going to talk about awe, and we have a great article from Teja Patabramian, who wrote an article about a new book that came out called Awestruck by psychologist Jonah Paquette. And Jonah talks about what is awe, and there's two primary components of awe. One is vastness, and the other one is transcendence. Vastness is something when we come across a view that's spectacular out there, or a concept such as a black hole that we can't really put into our worldwide view that we see, or a current worldview, and it's bigger than what our minds imagine. It's forcing us to expand and understand what is actually possible out there. And transcendence actually means it's what happens when we take that view, and once we've seen that view, and we say to ourselves, okay, we're trying to make sense of it. Now, doing that has a lot of benefits, and we'll go into that after this. Tip number one, what are some of the benefits of awe? Well, one of the great benefits is it decreases your stress levels. And it's important to get outside into nature. There's actually evidence supporting a link between spending more time outdoors and experiencing awe with decreased stress levels. So much so that physicians are now prescribing time outside with green spaces or in nature as a way to typically reduce your stress levels. Another piece too is that it increases your generosity and kindness, believe it or not. There was research done by the University of California at Berkeley, and they had participants go stand and look at a nature grove or a eucalyptus tree in the middle of campus. Those students stared at that grove for a while, and then a researcher who accidentally came by actually dropped a bunch of pencils or pens or papers on the ground right next to these people who are participating in the study. Those participants were actually more inclined to help pick up all the papers and pens that fell on the ground than other participants who were not staring at awe as well. So two great benefits right there. Increase your generosity and kindness, and of course, decrease your stress level. Tip number two, awe makes us happier and more satisfied with life. That same research done by Berkeley, it found that participants who were experiencing awe several times a week were happier overall in terms of studies that they were doing, and on average had greater well-being and even more satisfaction 2 to 3 weeks later. So the bottom line is, if we're getting outside more, experiencing awe, looking for those amazing things in nature, we're going to be a happier and more satisfied person with our overall life. Tip number three, here are some ways to incorporate awe into your life. One of the first things you can do is when you experience awe or you see it somewhere in nature or around you, make sure you linger. Take a minute or as long as possible so that you can really experience it. You may be tempted to move on quickly. You saw this beautiful rainbow or a sunset, but take your time, enjoy it, and slow down in front of you. By slowing down, you're appreciating the patience and involvement of what is actually occurring in front of you. So take a moment to linger and then slow down so you can appreciate the awe when you see it. Our next tip, appreciate your senses and unplug. One of the things that you need to do is when you experience awe, and let's take, for example, you see a great waterfall that's near you or on vacation, experience the senses. Make sure you get a good smell of what's happening. Listen to what's around you. Maybe it's the rushing of the water, or maybe it's birds chirping in the background, or rustling of leaves. Whatever it is, make sure that you really turn on your senses and then unplug from your cell phone or from your tablet or whatever else is there. Sure, take a picture to capture the moment, but then really take a moment and time to appreciate your senses so that your body really absorbs everything that's happening there and you really appreciate that awe. our last tips. Take all walks and of course all journal about them. What does that mean? Well, an all walk could mean just taking a walk in nature or going on a hike or a trail or making sure you get to the beach or anywhere where there is nature and all around you. And when you do that, take your time, be intentional about it, and make sure that you spend time in nature. And of course, when you're done, journal about it. Where were you? How did you feel? What did you see there? The simple practice of that will get your brain thinking about it and really engage your feelings as well as your senses to appreciate the all around you. Hopefully this will help you make yourself happier, more engaged, and reduce stress as well. Thanks again for watching this week's edition of EQ Video Tip. We hope you enjoyed it. Here's a quick recap of all the things we talked about in awe, and hopefully you will engage in awe to help reduce your stress levels and make yourself happier as well. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ Video Tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.